Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are running into our favorite video each and every weekday, our player props video. Got a nice little 5-game slate to choose from tonight. Make sure you do check out Nate's great article up on playpicks.com with some best bets and player props in there for you. And make sure to like and subscribe to that page and check out those other couple game videos we have up for you tonight. And head to thelines.com. Make sure you head to that odds checker there and that props tool we have for you. Get the best bets available on all of those NBA props out there. And also head to play.thelines.com as we have the opportunity for you guys to win a $25 Amazon gift card. If you head to play.thelines.com and head to that NBA Daily Pick'em Challenge, get all of those correct, and we will send you that gift card. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight's player props. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'm looking at that Nets-Pistons game and actually not looking at Kyrie. Well, mostly because his props aren't up yet for some reason. He's been cleared to play in home games, but had a rough debut on Sunday in front of those Brooklyn fans. And KD had 27 points still in on a 28% usage rate. Actually had one of his worst shooting nights at 9 for 24. Credit Charlotte, which has been surging with playing some good defense. Now KD gets the Pistons, who have stunningly been the best defensive team against the three-pointer since the All-Star break, have kind of stunningly covered in 14 of their last 16 as underdogs. So that 14-point spread might be a little misleading. You might not get a blowout here. And Detroit also, pretty surprisingly, has allowed the least points per game to point guards in their last 15. So I don't think this is really a game for Kyrie to go off and to bounce back in a huge way. But I'm not saying Kyrie and KD can't both get 30 points. They both have a usage rate around 30% when they're out there and the team scoring nearly 130 points per 100 possessions. So KD, 27.5 points is minus 115. He dropped 51 on Detroit earlier this season when Kyrie was not in the lineup. But, shot over 50%, 16 for 31, and had a 43% usage rate. Again, without Kyrie for 5 of these games, but his last 6 home games, 35 points per game on a 35% usage rate. Jeremy Grant is out for the Pistons, and they're selling out to stop the three-point line, but KD is the mid-range killer, probably the best in-between scorer in the game. And the Nets really need to start winning some games because the aforementioned Hornets are ready to take their spot here in the eighth spot, which is a huge disadvantage in the play-in round. And now that Toronto's played their way out of the play-in, they might, not have to worry about it as much, because if they had to go to Toronto, they wouldn't have Kyrie, but go to Cleveland right now for that 8-7 spot is not a scary matchup for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's plenty to play for tonight. I like the KD at home tonight. Obviously, some of those stats a bit misleading as Kyrie wasn't around. But to your point, it's not like they can't both get 30. And KD is definitely not going to continue playing games the way he claims he did when he let Kyrie take over in that Philadelphia matchup. This is a game they have to win. I agree that it's ripe for a not blowout, and 15 points might be too high in a game where I could see Brooklyn taking them somewhat lightly, which really just means that their offense is going to be, here, KD, go into that space and do whatever you want, and here's the ball. You are the king of the mid-range, to your point, and I like his ability to shoot over those defenders on Detroit without Jeremy Grant playing tonight, so it's a good spot right there. Moving on to if KD's the best player in the league, maybe the second best player in the league, Giannis Antetokounmpo, as we did talk about those Bucks playing Philly tonight in our other game video. And we did talk about liking Giannis in that time frame as he's been killing in Philadelphia as of late. 29.5 points is his prop tonight, minus 115. I also love what you put here for 2.5 steals or blocks and getting plus 120 on your money if he gets more than that. So 3 steals and blocks combined, I definitely feel good about that for him, because with Brolo back as well. Love the ability for him to be playing off the big man as opposed to having to really bang down low quite as much, playing a little bit more free safety there. You've also got here, I would consider 35 and a win for Milwaukee. I really want to take Milwaukee tonight, but at the same time, they do have some bad numbers against when they are playing as an away underdog. At the same time, they're only ever an away underdog because one of their big three is missing. All three are healthy tonight, and I still think that this is a moment for Giannis to eat. In his last 6 roadies, we're talking 33 points a game with 16 blocks and steals combined in that time frame as well. He's had 30 plus in all of those 6 roadies. So, 29.5 points feels really low right now. I believe you can actually still get minus 105 on your money for 29.5 points on DraftKings right now, which is a really good opportunity there. But do make sure you're checking out thelines.com for that props tool to get those best odds. And they did lose their last game, the Bucks there, and the last 4 for Giannis after a loss. He scores over 30 points a game, 11 boards, and 10 blocks and steals combined there. So, our guy's all over the place on defense. If you're getting plus money for him to get 3 steals, blocks, and combined, that doesn't make any sense to me. I think he's going to get closer to 4 there. And then, we mentioned in the game video, his last 4 in Philly specifically, looking at over 32.5 points a game, 14.5 boards, also has got 5.5 assists in that time frame. So I think there's a lot of ways to bet Giannis tonight to score and to get a bunch of good defensive stats as well.
Yeah, and surprisingly, Philly has not been turning it over that much since adding James Harden, but odds makers expect him to cough it up a lot now that it's another premier matchup. He was awful against the Nets, and minus 135 for him to have 4 turnovers tonight. So that plays into the steals realm for sure, with both Drew and Chris Middleton active and hounding him. Probably some opportunities for Giannis to get over there and get those defensive stats. I just love the odds at plus 400 for the 35 and a win. He's been close to that consistently, both on the road and the last time he played Philly. And it's a nice way to juke the odds here in a game that really seems to be a toss-up. So looking at the Lakers now without AD or LeBron, AD's practicing, should return soon, but they don't have much. They're 12-point underdogs, and you wonder if they're going to be able to keep up in Dallas. But that's going to be on Russell Westbrook, who certainly has a monster chip on his shoulder from all the flack he's been taking. Probably wants to pull a Will Smith and smack somebody in the face for disrespecting him so much. So maybe he can take it out on Dallas tonight. His last time out against them, only 12, 6, and 8, because he had such a small usage rate at 21%. But he actually got 29% usage rate in the previous meeting in December, despite the fact that both AD and LeBron were out there. And that game went to overtime. Westbrook finished 1 assist shy of a triple-double with 23, 10, and 9. So I would have no problem hitting his PRA. It's at 34 right now, 33.5, minus 115 or minus 120. But it seems like a very safe bet with these guys out. In 14 games without LeBron, is averaging 21.5 points, 7.5 rebounds, 8 assists, which is good for a 36 PRA. His usage rate climbs up to nearly 30%. Mentioned the numbers against Dallas, but if you look at the previous 2 before he joined the Lakers, when he was in full Russell Westbrook balls to the wall mode, 34 points per game, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, a 36% usage rate. And that is to just say that maybe we'll get a vintage game from Russ here, not necessarily in how much he scores, but in trying to set up these other guys. It is kind of a flawed team built around him now. Certainly the Lakers are a flawed team, but with LeBron out, it's his ship to run. And, maybe he gets that triple-double. It's plus 700 at DraftKings right now for him to do that. I think the biggest obstacle would be the Lakers keeping it close for you to get there, but I think it's worth sprinkling some money at 7-1.
Yeah, 7-1 is nice for sure. It's Russell Westbrook back on the Wiz, right? Like it's him on the Wizards, it's him back on the Thunder. Probably more closely relatable to the Thunder. I think the Wizards had even a better supporting cast than this current Lakers squad without AD or LeBron playing. This is what he does. This is once you get that usage rate up and you get the ball in his hands, he's got a dribble rate probably at about like 85, 90% at that point because he's just taking the air out of the ball, running and gunning as soon as he gets a rebound or someone else does. And if he does get those double-digit boards tonight, I think you've got an opportunity for that triple-double, as that'll lead to him getting out in transition a lot, where he's either going to just go right to the rim or be looking to dish. So this is where this is where he steps up, and this is where assists become a really nice stat for him as well, and maybe get some juice on that. But yeah, there's some good ways to bet Westbrook tonight, as this is going to be sort of a vintage opportunity for him to go back to the way he loves to play, with that high usage rate and dribble rate. So lastly here, we're going to end with a guy who his props aren't officially up for us right now on DraftKings or FanDuel, but Donnie Mitchell is a guy that we are waiting for him to go off tonight on the against the Clippers, as we do talk about that in the game video with the Clippers and Jazz tonight. I think that line is actually
just came up, Josh. 25.5 points is it for -105 at DraftKings. That is juicy.
Breaking news. Love to hear that. We thought it was going to be closer to 27.5 or 28.5, 25.5, and you still get close to even odds. I understand this is great. He had a 12-point dud versus Dallas in his last game, which is they lost by 14 points, and really were never close once the second quarter hit and onward. So I mean, there's some value being derived from the fact that people are looking at that, going, well, he hasn't topped that that point total in his last two. And then, I guess, playing in a game against the Clips, who have been, this season, a pretty good defensive team. But as we talked about in that game video, in their last five, they're, the third worst defense, giving up the third highest 3-point percentage to their opponents. So 25.5 points at -105 is wonderful. If you want to talk about 3-pointers, as we mentioned how bad the Clips have been on D against the 3.5 threes is +105 on your money. We both like that. As long as you're getting even money for him to hit 4 threes against this team, we do feel good about that. In his previous 6 roadies leading into this game, we're talking 28 points a game with a 36% usage rate. Now you've got Bojan Bogdanovic out, where now we're talking about Donnie's points per game rising 3 points from 25.5 to almost 29 this season. His 3-pointers made is great. It goes up from 3.5 to about 5, 4.8 made on 12 attempts without Bojan this year. His usage rate goes back up to even from 32-ish to 36%. And yeah, I mean, this team has won 5 of their last 6 versus LA in general, because Donnie's averaging 32 points a game, making more than 5 threes from deep with a 44% clip from deep as well, versus Utah in their last 6. And in Utah in their last 3, even more, or excuse me, in LA playing the Clips in their last 3 at the arena formerly known as the Staples Center, 35 points a game, 6.7 threes. So Donnie Wardell Mitchell on 13 attempts at 51.5% versus the Clips. So those 4 made threes, the 25 habit points is just like chef's kiss. It's nice and juicy. Grab both of those. You might consider a nice little same game parlay, and take if you are working with FanDuel or DraftKings there, and get those combined as well, and get even more juice back there.
Yeah, I mean, the triple is all that's working for Utah right now, and it's unassisted triples. They lead the league in that department because it's Donovan Mitchell doing it off the dribble, step backs, just killing people. There's no answer for him. The Clippers have had less than no answer for him. Those are some of his best splits against anybody right now. So with Bojan out, you can expect him to score such a high percentage of his team's points tonight. Yeah. And we really like the Jazz at -1 to win the game. And they're projected to score 110, which is a little bit up from what they've struggled lately on the road against some good defenses. But now I think they break out a little bit, and Donnie's shooting the ball over a third of the time for his team. In their last 6 against the Clippers, they're hitting 18 threes total. He'll probably account for about a third of those with Bojan out. So, I love the 3.5 threes. I would look at the alternate for him to maybe hit 5 threes or see what kind of doubles you get for 5 threes in a win at FanDuel. I think there's a lot of ways to get juice on Mitchell bouncing back here.
That's a lot. Yeah. And Donnie, he's been super hot in the first half too, by the way. Something that I've noticed in terms of him getting close to 20 points. I mean, he's in his last 10 in the first half. He's averaging 15.5 points a game in the first half as well. So already looking really good once he gets to that halftime marker to get his props as of late. So lots to like tonight. Some pretty fun matchups despite only 5 of them going on, as we are really closing in on the playoffs here. So as that is all the time we have for you in this one. Definitely make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Check out the other couple of videos. StayOnTheLines.com. Head to play.thelines.com as well. Win that $25 gift card with that NBA Daily Pick'em Challenge. So until we see you next, happy betting.